Yeah, all the time, all the time. Got a different bit of audio here as well.
It's a nice jingle you've got there.
It is a nice little jingle. Yeah, it's one of my favourite things. I think. No, I won't do a separate intro. I'll just say Chris Choppin's on the podcast today. Hello, Chris.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was just saying that I am surrounded. I have a wall of Chris Choppin around me. I've got a little background, which you talk about in a bit, and also that's on me. This is on my other screen. So.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just your face, but it's fine. I'm going to leave it there for the rest of the night. Let's sort out which image to. Nothing weird came up. It's all pretty recent and pretty relevant to Chris Choppin, so it's nice.
It's good for the ego if you put your name into Google and the stuff that comes up is actually about you. Because I have quite a distinctive name, but even like a few years ago, you put in Chris Chopping, it would just be some man in Canada with an axe, you know.
Yeah, you got to specify. With me, you've got to specify where you live, or something, or put comedy or something, because there's someone with my name who's Britain's best psychic. I think if they're still alive, I'll have a look in a bit. And there's also an old musician from America. I think he's an old country singer.
The thing is about Britain's best psychic is he's actually literally no better at reading minds than you are.
This is absolutely true.
So you could just, pull some of the same grifter shit that he's doing. Can we swear on this? Is that okay?
Yeah. No. How dare you? This is a Christian server.
Sure.
I've actually found him. He's still around, and he gives discounts to the NHS at least for his bullshit.
Does he?
So what he's doing is robbing the NHS and pretending he can talk to their dead relatives or something. So he's in Bolton. He's got a psychic studio.
Oh, psychic studio.
A fiver off if you work for the NHS. So he's a true medium, and he does not ask any questions. He will tell you past, present, and future, and communicate with your loved ones.
He can tell you the future.
Shall I go round his house with a bat in the middle of the night and then steal the domain name? He hasn't even got. Actually, he might have even got rid of the domain name.
That's how domain names work. They don't keep those sort of in a drawer with the silver, do they? You don't have to go around his house to nick his domain. You just have to kind of buy it out from under him. I think I
was just trying to do one of those hack jokes about punching a psychic and asking if you saw it coming.
Oh, that sound's gone very weird. Is that?
Oh, I can hear something coming out of your end.
Oh, hang on. That's probably just my speaker being a piece of shit. Hang on.
Probably.
Say something there.
Hello. Oh. Yeah, it's my robotic voice coming out the other end.
And again.
Hello.
Oh, that's much better. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was at my end. That bullshit.
I thought that Carl Mann, the psychic, had found out, and then again, I don't know if this is how psychic behaviour works. He was tapping in.
Yeah, it just sends the ghosts through the channels to fuck with us.
What a bastard, though, eh? What bastards these people are. Like, your mum's just died. You're vulnerable. And you're like, if you had that power, you wouldn't sell it like that. You'd just be a hero.
I saw what's his chops? Darren Brown. So doing like cold reading on the cast of what's that soap, Hollyoaks, which is fish in a barrel really, and it was amazing because he'd just say nothing and they'd be going, no, that's nothing to do with me. It doesn't really relate, and they go, and you've got a recently dead gran, and they go, oh god, and the tears are start springing. Like you just say one thing because they're so attuned and wanting to believe.
Yeah, and they're so good at it. The cold readers, they're so good at picking up little clues and stuff. And I know that years ago, you go into a theatre to see one, and they would do stuff like on the way in, they'd have plants in the crowd, and they would just be chatting. And they would be all this backstage, so you'd know that C837 was a dead brother.
Oh, you can see what car they drive up in the car park and use that to. Oh, you've got a Citroen.
And now social media, they just go on your Instagram and just go back and just look at you a floral arrangement saying Nan in November. Was she called Betty or Edna? And just keep.
Yeah, that's true. Social media makes it so much easier, doesn't it? That's why all the people going, oh, the government are going to have 5G microchips in our blood and they're going to steal our information. The information you openly put on the internet for everyone.
You tell everyone where you are, and then Facebook owns everything that's on there anyway, so they just read your messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yes, you're still alive and healthy. Then that's good. At least mentally as well.
Still alive, mentally, just about, yeah, with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to the point where I'm wearing Christmas jumpers
I was
still
just
in
gonna say,
February.
lovely Wham shirt.
Yeah, I just, this is about the coziest jumper I own, and we're not really allowed to go anywhere. And you can just be a bit more eccentric, can't you? When you don't actually have to worry about what people think or what how you look. Not that I worry too much about how I look. This is quite good for me, lockdown, because I can kind of go, oh yeah, it's a bit of lockdown hair, getting a bit long, but what can I say, lockdown? But I never really shave or cut my hair enough anyway. So basically, lockdown, just everyone else has lowered the bar, and I've come up to meet it. So that's quite
Perfect.
nice. Yeah.
That balances out. When the pandemic first happened, I think I was cheating myself really because I said I was going around saying I'm pando flourishing and I love it and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But when I look back at March to May last year ish, in some ways I was liking the fresh air. I was getting out in the park.
Mm.
People were exercising. It was kind of nice. But then the less traffic on the roads and all that stuff. Nature was healing. But then by about 2 p.m. most days I was sort of curled up in a ball on bed.
Oh.
And when I look back, I was like, that's not flourishing.
Yeah. That isn't actually the living my best life I thought I was doing. So what's your living situation? Do you live on your own?
Yes, I'm alone, so it was weird.
Yeah.
I didn't see a human that I knew for probably over 100 days or something.
God.
And I think, I went mental. I didn't realise how mental I'd gone. And then slowly over the summer, I was doing bits and pieces and seeing some people outside and stuff.
We all sort of feel, I think, or a lot of us feel like we're in this together, and it's like a big collective effort, and it is in a way. But also, everyone's experience of it is so different. Because I've been really lucky. Like I've been here with Ellie, and we've got 4 cats and a dog. So I was going out and walking the dog every day. In the first lockdown, I was on furlough. I was cooking lots of nice things. I was spending quality time with Ellie. Like we started at the start of lockdown, she was my girlfriend, and we're married now. So that's been quick with a baby on the way. So it's
COVID
all,
baby as well.
I know. Well, that's a worry, isn't it? Like we thought, 6 months ago when we realised she was pregnant, we thought, oh well, that's okay. Things are kind of we're all going to be pulling out of it, and then it's gone back the other way. So that's going to be interesting and not. It's tough at the minute because I've had to go back to work, and she's here. She can't have we don't have household bubbles obviously here in the Wales at the minute, so you can't have anyone come around and pitch in and help out if she's struggling. So. Yeah, but I didn't mean to start on this tangent to complain. I was saying, I'm really lucky because we had each other for all this, and we started doing a vlog just to that was a good thing to have the routine and keep yourself sane, I think.
Yeah, and also you're getting some kind of outlet, right? So, like any people that do comedy or any kind of even art or music or something, you suddenly can't do it. So you have to sort of find ways to do something. I was doing a lot of these last year, but. I kind of slipped off a bit towards the end, but yeah, I needed to do at least this. I had a couple of Zoom pubs and stuff, but they're a bit weird because you sort of drink with your mates and then they go, and then you're just looking at the laptop screen with a beer in your hand, going, well.
Yeah, there's no kind of walk home afterwards, is there? There's no.
Yeah, you're not going to the kebab shop.
No, there's no closing time and last orders and no. You're just in your back room getting slowly pissed.
It is a bit sad.
It's a slightly odd state of affair. Yeah, I've done quite a few of these Zoom gigs and stuff as well. And
how have you found them?
I always feel like I want to be careful how I kind of phrase it because
you want to do more.
Yeah, because I might want to do more, and I don't want to offend anyone who's put them up because I've done some that have been really well organised and some that have been genuinely quite good fun to do as well. But they always feel a bit to me like it's trying to fit, a sort of square peg of live stand-up comedy into the round hole of the internet. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it is because from my point, I was fucking around and saying stuff about them early on, but I haven't wanted to do any. It doesn't. The ones that I went on and watched a bit of, it just seemed a bit. There was a lot of your Wi-Fi is going, and is it just the organisation of it at first, but then It's
I think
not.
that's it.
It's not life. It's not comedy though, is it? It's even
I
a
think
good one.
I think that's it. Is that I sort of, some people do tune into these things
Yeah,
and get
definitely.
something out of them, and I don't want to knock them for those choices either. But like, I don't enjoy watching live streamed kind of content in that way myself. And like, so that's partly why I got into stand up is I enjoyed watching it first, like when I was growing up on
Yeah,
DVD and things, and then seeing it live. So you kind of want to do that thing that you love, and it's hard to kind of make that connection with the Zoom gigs because I don't love it in the same way to watch, so I don't aspire to kind of do it, if that makes sense.
yeah, and it's not the same feeling, is it? Because when you're in a room, there's the adrenaline. There's extra adrenaline as well because you're there with real people.
Mm.
And then you don't. Are they going to laugh? Are they not going to laugh at this bit? It's exciting and sort of scary at the same time. I guess you still get that on a Zoom gig, but it's not. It would feel a bit removed to me. I think.
It's yeah, like I said, I've done some that have been fun. I really have.
Yeah,
I just think like you can't capture like really the things that make like because if you compare sort of live stand-up comedy to say a sitcom, and all the things you can do, or like a panel show, with a panel show you've got all the advantages of like editing and camera work
yeah,
and writers and pre-preparing and all this kind of stuff. And with stand-up comedy, you've got none of that. You're just kind of in the moment, and and you think, well, it's not on a purely surface level. Yeah, well, that's not as good. You haven't got all of that stuff. But what you have got in live comedy is you've got the connection with the audience. You've got that atmosphere. You've got the feeling of being part of something happening in a
yeah,
room. All these things, and that's just taken away with Zoom, and it just feels like people sort of slightly going, "This is what I've always done, and I'm going to try and find a way to just keep on doing that in the most straightforward way." And like I said, I don't. The danger is people listen to this and they think I'm being a prick about it, which I'm not. Like people have worked hard and put on some really good ones, like I say, and I've enjoyed doing some of them. But I think if I'm going to do something for the internet, I'd sooner try and make like a YouTube video where I can take advantage of the fact, well, okay, well, I don't have the great things that come along with doing a live performance. That's gone, but the internet has its own advantages, which I can't do in live comedy, like editing and putting in clips and
yeah.
all these different things that you can do, and I want to take advantage of those a bit.
Definitely, like sketches and stuff like that. So I'd like to do more of that kind of stuff. I've got some friends in Bristol like with doing some things, but they've kind of half committed to it and then stopped and then done some more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you've got editing power. You can make really cool videos and little effects and stuff. There's a lot of talented people around, so you can definitely apply it that way. But yeah, for me, it just the Zoom gigs were just too far removed from what it was. It's something else to me. It's not. It isn't stand up. It's something else. For a start, for the most part, it's sit down, not stand up. Most people are just like crouched into a webcam.
Yeah. Oh, it's
But I've seen some stuff where they've done like in the US and stuff. They were doing it in a comedy club and they were streaming it. So the comics would go to the club if there were local, I don't know, LA comics or something back when they could do it, and they would get a camera and they would perform to a camera but from a stage.
yeah. I've seen that. The guy I've seen doing that over here, I'd give a lot of credit to, is Ignacio Lopez.
Right.
And he's actually had some people, and again, not so much now, what with tier 4 restrictions and everything else, but back when you could have, people come to you for work, and things, he's had set up like a little mini stage and a backdrop and a microphone and everything, and actually had people perform to the camera, and they can see the Zoom people in front of them, and it just is a bit more like you get the physicality of it, and the kind of which you lose obviously when it's just you sort of peering into your camera on your laptop, and that's shooting the view right up your nose and things. So it's quite a good leveler though, because I've seen like like a WrestleMania pay-per-view on the pre-show, and you've got the guys on there, the pundits, just looking into their laptops, or on Graham Norton or whatever. It's just people looking into their laptops, and suddenly you sort of go, well, I look as slick as the bloke on the
Yeah,
BBC
because
or
like
WWE.
the US late night shows and stuff, they when Jimmy Kimmel's doing it from home, it's like you lose it. They haven't got a band. I know that a lot of them they've got a lot of it sorted out now, and some of them are doing it back in the studio with like people on Zoom screens, like dancing around and stuff, which is still a bit odd. But I can see it going more like that. But yeah, when they lose, because these hosts for the most part, they don't write their monologues and stuff. It's written by comics for the most part, and then they've got the lights and the band and the set and everything's shiny, and it's all a distraction. But when it's just, I guess, them performing into a webcam, sometimes it's not quite the same.
I think that's the main thing. Like, I was thinking about this, that the main thing that separates kind of a big television production from like what people can do at home themselves is just like the collaborative kind of nature of it and the sheer number of people that go into. So you look at, like, I've seen comedians kind of on YouTube trying to do like kind of essentially like a daily show type thing where they've got like a little picture and they're talking about the news story and etc. And I've done things that are kind of similar in kind of format or style to that, I guess. But it's the trouble is like Jon Stewart. It's not just that Jon Stewart is really talented, or the guy they've got doing it now. What's his name?
I forget.
Yeah, or Jon Stewart is another one. Obviously, last week's night, but he's really talented. But he's also got like a team of researchers, and and I'm at home trying to write a YouTube.
They've got researchers, they've got interns, they've got a production team.
Yeah,
he's just going, get me a picture of Chris chopping, and they'll do it. They'll do it.
And we're, everyone's just kind of faffing around on it. Well, it's like you mentioned, you've got friends in Bristol, you're saying, who are trying to do some sketches.
Yeah.
But it's hard to corral everyone and get everyone motivated and get them on the same page and actually get a project done. And that's, and with TV, they can just hire people and it's literally your job. You have to fucking do it. But that's the problem, is like everyone's got to do these things around their day jobs or kind of whatever other projects they're doing that kind
or
of
life and these kids life, and whatever else you got going on. It's like
everything. So it's really tricky to kind of keep that going and maintain the momentum. But there's no reason why you couldn't have something. It might not be quite as slick, but people can do clever things with editing now. But there's no reason you can't do something really great. But the difference is just the sheer number of people they can just employ to write and contribute and script edit and add to it and stuff.
Yeah. No, exactly. Because I know it's take like John Oliver or whatever, any of those late night when they do their opening monologue, what they tend to do for that, or even for the show, they'll send out writing packets to X amount of comics. They might send it to 10 comedians. They have staff writers, but then they've got just comics, and they'll go write 20 jokes about the White House or whatever. Write 20 jokes about the stock thing that's gone on recently, and then they'll just submit it, and then they'll just pick. If they pick a packet, then they'll pay you a bonus and stuff. But it's other people that are writing those jokes, and they're just reading off an auto cue, and they do it well. It's still a tough skill, but. Well, again, you've got that whole.
Sorry, yeah, you've got that whole.
Just structure, infrastructure, really.
Well, I'm a big fan of Charlie Brooker.
Yeah.
And I have been since back in the kind of Screenwipe days and Screen Burn. I've read all his kind of TV reviews. I've got those books, and all that kind of thing. And I think he's a supremely talented guy. So I don't want this to sound like I'm like knocking anyone or having a go. But I watched his kind of Death to 2020 review of the year thing, and it's got all sort of big celebrity names in it. But I actually think it's kind of a bit more homogenized and a bit less interesting than when he was doing kind of the, 2019 wipe or whatever ones he was doing, where it was him posting it and delivering his own lines, which he does so well, and kind of had a bit more of his personality all over it. I should prefer that to the Death to 2020. But on the credits of Death to 2020, you've got about 20 comedians listed as writers.
Yeah, I was just trying to look it up, but so basically, when it becomes this big collaborative effort, it can dilute it as well.
I mean, you lose a little bit of kind of the personality of just someone as talented as Charlie Brooker doing his own thing. But the flip side of that is it makes you go, well, okay, that was a good kind of roundup and review of the year. But if you had, the 20 talented kind of writers and performers from South Wales, which is where I'm based, 20 talented comedians collaborating to write the best kind of review of the year, and they had the time and resources to kind of focus their energies on that, and they're just writing this thing, and everyone's chipping in and polishing, and you know, if we get in a writer's room maybe and have a big meeting and throw out our ideas and kind of improve them and everything, then there's no reason why we couldn't do something really good, I don't think. But it's just, you know,
it's herding cats. It's herding cats
yeah,
as well. The problem I found as well is like half of them are my friends as well. Is like when you try and get a bunch of comics to do anything in normal times, sometimes it's just getting them together. And now it's just difficult because you're not seeing them. If you were seeing them at gigs, because you can always send them a text or a message, go, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Yeah, but you can never quite pin it down. But if you see them at gigs as well, you can sort of pin them down, buy them a pint and sit there going, no, we think we can really do this and get 3 or 4 of you together and just put on a really, really good project. There is a lot of talent around, and yeah, you just got to go out and do something and have a plan to do it. But yeah, it's just comedians are crazy. But yeah, no, you're definitely right. But yeah, no, I watched your special on which is Chris Chopin's Lonely. Have you been sued yet by by dead Beatles?
No, nor the living ones, thankfully.
Good.
I'm really pleased with that, by the way. That cover image that we had, Chris Chopin's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oh, you've got the whole thing done. I just saw, didn't you? On the did you do the whole album cover pretty much for the?
Yeah, well, because the whole thing with obviously Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, that album has been kind of pastiched and spoofed and kind of ripped off and tributes made to it so many times, and it's always just a sea of faces.
Yeah.
Of different people, and my thing is, you know, it's a show about breakups and dating and things, so they've just kind of removed, you know, it's just me on my own after everyone else has left.
So you got it on the right here, so it's just this, you're in there. Is it a field you're in there?
Yeah, just kind of in a
desolate
muddy. I think the idea is like everyone's kind of churned up the field by sort of standing on it, you know, because they had the photo shoot with everyone. It's just me on my own, and someone said they'd seen sort of all sorts of spoofs of that album. It's always just a sea of faces, and no one's kind of gone the other way and just removed everyone and kind of just had that.
Yeah, it's the first time I'd seen the whole thing tonight, because when I went to watch special, you just see the square around what you can see behind me pretty much. But yeah, no, it looks pretty cool. It's a good idea. The flower, your name of the flowers. Yes,
I'm really lucky that I know really talented people who can make these things and put them together and make me look more slick and professional and everything. It's great. But yeah,
it is always good to know people. Like I'm half decent at graphic design, but really not really. And also I can't be asked a lot of the time. So if I'm trying to do something, it's like and then I realise I need to put a lot more time and effort into this. And there are people out there that have just got it right.
Yeah, that thing. I was talking to a friend who went to film school the other day, and he said, I went to film school for 10 years ago. I went to film school to learn how to do all this stuff. And now people who are like 10, 15 years younger than me can just do it on their phones like that, because that's just the culture now. And just, you know,
you just learn a piece of software. You don't need, I mean, things like film school or art school and stuff, they are super useful, of course, but a lot of people don't ever do any of that. Just teach themselves to do something and get lucky. Maybe they get someone fairly famous or something, or well known, sees what they're doing and get them to work for them for a bit, or something goes viral, some video that they've done. But there's a lot of talent out there. Just like on like Upwork and stuff, you can get someone to do a really good job on something for 25 quid.
It just feels like, you know, you get to a certain age where you just feel like you're running to catch up, because technology,
just sort of life takes over. And when I was younger, I preferred to do everything myself. Like I'd learn this. I still love learning new stuff and new software and learning how to do things, but it is a time and an energy thing. It's like I could put my energy into this, like whether it's writing or something else, or you know, do a podcast or something, and then get someone else to help with this logo.
Well, I'm sort of teaching myself a lot of that stuff now that I never really bothered with before, like you know, kind of editing software and things like that. And I'm really enjoying it and getting a lot out of it. I feel like it's probably the same pleasure my granddad would have got out of using some tools in his shed.
Yeah.
It's just taking a bit of time and working on a thing and seeing it kind of come together. But at the same time, you probably think a 15-year-old could probably knock up a similar standard in 20 minutes on their phone than it's taken me all day to do. But
I think it's good. It's good though. I've worked in jobs and stuff before. I've done video and audio stuff, and it is. I do like learning stuff when you do it yourself. And yeah, I do it slowly and badly for years. I realise, I could just do it this way, or there's this new software now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do try and keep up with video and audio stuff, but yeah, there's too much other stuff. So I've decided I'm probably going to do something over the summer. Obviously, pandemic dependent. So we're going to go out and get some actual artists to make something. I think little logo. We're going to try and do some outdoor gigs later in the year. But obviously, everything is completely like restriction allowing.
Sure.
And who knows, right? But yeah, you're going to get a few of us together to do it as a group and get we'll ticket it and get some good comics on and take a little gazebo round or something. And if you've got a spare field, we'll come and do it in your field here and there over the summer. But again, it's all a bit of a pipe dream. But we're going to try and start to plan it. And then if we're allowed, if Bill Gates's microchip vaccine doesn't make us go and be suicide bombers in the Apple store.
Yeah, well, it's been weird. It's been weird, isn't it, in Wales, because there's been basically nothing. There's been sort of a handful of gigs happen in Wales over the past year, but for the most part, in terms of live gigs, we've had tougher restrictions than in England.
Tougher and earlier a lot of the time, isn't it?
So you kind of hear about stuff going on in Bristol, but we're not allowed to kind of go to it, and we can't do similar things ourselves. And obviously, even in Bristol and around the country, it's all been socially distanced and very kind of different. But like basically every gig I was booked for since March last year has been sort of cancelled. And every time you think, I've been offered a spot on this gig, and then you get closer to the time, and it just evaporates in front of your eyes. So it's like you say, you're just hoping the lockdown rules allowing, and not wanting to kind of be insensible and kind of push for it to come up before it needs to. But yeah, you just hope that the things kind of get some semblance of being allowed to do things that you enjoy. Given
that we never know, obviously, but given that this is it's a tough lockdown again, we've been in it a month. That's gone pretty quick for me. Another month of it, there should be a lot of progress, and then you've got the vaccine alongside it, which we didn't have last time, and more knowledge and all that stuff, better treatment for things. So, I think we all need it. April, whether it's April or May, just to have some sort of ability to do a gig.
Oh, I did a socially distanced gig for the BBC.
Yeah, I saw the clip of that actually.
It was literally me and 5 other comedians taking it in turns to kind of perform for each other, and then obviously you've got kind of the crew around. So it was a very strange kind of unnatural atmosphere. We're all filming. It's in a studio, and it's not as opposed to like a kind of pub or venue really. So it's very different to what you're used to. But just standing up and telling some jokes in a room with some other people in front of you just felt like, it was like you could feel tension being released from your shoulders that you didn't even know you were carrying. It was because you can convince yourself over the course of a year, like, I don't miss it all that much. I'm living my life, I'm doing my thing, and then you do it, and you're like, I was missing this, and I didn't even know it was missing.
Yeah, I did do a couple of gigs. It was 2 outdoor things that. One was okay because it was the first thing anyone had done for ages, and it was all social distant and stuff. And the second one was awful.
Oh, really?
It was just no one turned up, and it was just and also like half of us bummed as well. So it's just really awkward. They were just in a field, and it's such a weird thing. And then I did do one other thing, which was a better gig, and it was into a microphone and stuff. But it was all like 3 since March. I think actually it affected me more early on. I think it's because I had a bit more of a plan, and I actually wanted to, coming into last year, I thought, right, I'm going to do this many gigs and do this, and this, and I was all excited, and then it was just So the first 3 or 4 weeks, I was really depressed about that, and it's just gone up and down over the year. At the moment, I'm fine. I'm writing. So at this point, we've got to accept it, right? Otherwise, you just spiral into depression. And when they said May for bars and stuff the other day, I was like, oh my God, it's like, that'll be difficult. But I think it will go fast as well. February's a short month, right? Then it's March.
Yeah, and then we're nearly there, right? We're over the worst of it.
Everything will be fine.
I was looking at, because I was running a venue. I did the first of what I had hoped would be, sort of a regular gig here in Newport where I live, and we did the first one, and it was just that stage where people were kind of being told to wash their hands and be careful, and kind of we were a bit sort of like, oh, is this a serious thing? What's happening? Before kind of we were told to kind of stay home and not go out at all. And the venue literally holds about sort of 40, 50 people. Like, it's a tiny little custom built, kind of the smallest venue you can imagine. It's a gorgeous little. There used to be a public toilet, and they've kind of converted it into a venue, and it's gorgeous. It's really incredible, but it's just we packed it out, and we had a really nice fun gig, and then obviously you can't even run that socially distanced because you could fit about
it's too
4
small.
people. Yeah, it's too small. You could fit about 4 people, and the acts would have to stand outside.
That's the problem with a lot of these gigs, because a lot of them are in little side rooms of pubs or upstairs or something, and a lot of them that I know in Bristol there's not a chance really. There's a couple that I knew. I think the place where you filmed this, did it move around the corner? Is it the Arts Cafe or something?
No, it's still on its own. It's sort of in the middle of a kind of what's the word? Almost like it's just kind of surrounded by roads in the middle of a housing estate, and there's a little play park. It's literally just in a very kind of residential.
Because there's somewhere like that it was behind some shops and stuff, and it was sort of almost past a little MOT garage. And Joe Riley ran a gig out there in September. I didn't do it, but I saw it, and they actually got 30 people in there because it was big enough to socially distance them. So that, when they had the rules of max 36 in one household, they managed to do that, and they were pretty strict about it. Actually, it actually ran pretty well. So just wondered. I think it's near there. I think it's pretty near.
That sounds good. No, we couldn't have even done sort of 30 people in it. Like, barely more than 30 at maximum capacity. So it would have been shocking. But I was looking at like a pub near me, with the possibility of approaching them to do like an outdoor kind of a gig, because they've got a big sort of pub garden, which is nice, because I used to live in Cardiff and they don't really do pub gardens in Cardiff. They've got sort of car parks with a table in them, but they've got this nice big pub garden. But it's just you could spend loads of time and effort and money on sort of flyers and posters and online marketing, trying to let people know there's a gig, and then the weather in Wales, it gets to the day and it chucks it down with rain, and the whole thing's a washout. So it's very difficult to kind of have any sort of plans in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough, because I think I got to a point where I knew about 8 or 9 people that were running gigs all over really, and 2 or 3 of them had just set up at the beginning of the pandemic as well. Like they just got a night. I think Jack Lloyd and Rob Grubb just got the Inn on the Green back in Bristol, and they were ready to go for the first night, and they had to can it. I think it was the night before, or 3 nights before.
Well, yeah, I guess it's the same with everything, isn't it? With schools, they're finding out whether they can open or not, like at the weekend ahead of time or whatever, and it's so, it's not just us affected, but that is it. Like, literally, I've been, the day before, I'm supposed to be traveling down to Southampton to do a gig, to get the message through going, look, sorry, the venue's closing and we can't do it. So
yeah, I managed to get down there for I can't even remember the name of the night now. It's just because my memory is fucked. But yeah, I was going to go down again, and I think that's when they put the stricter lockdown here again. Like you couldn't leave, and I was thinking about it, but then at the last second, I just messaged him and said, no, I'm just not gonna risk it. It's just gonna go one way now anyway. everything's going to shut down. I think that was the last one. It's a shame because the South Coast is actually getting some decent gigs now.
Yeah. I'm envious of that. I don't drive either, so with the trains and coaches and things being restricted, that doesn't obviously help matters, and you're kind of um,
Yeah, I need to get a car. I drive, but I don't have a car at the moment. It's a bit of a nightmare. I hired some cars for some stuff last year when things opened up a little bit, but just for more just getting out of my flat for the day. But again, I need to get a car this year for gigs because it's got to the point where I'm always relying on other people. So I'll meet you here and we'll drive up together. Or like you said, trains are. I mean, it's not cheap to run a car, but also trains are not cheap. As if you want to go to London or Southampton on the train, it's not nothing.
No, well, that's why I got used to kind of just coach travel. But coach travel is not like a pleasant way to get around the place. And
I've done a lot of it, and it's not. The thing is, it's cheap and it's handy, but it takes a long time. And yeah, it can be just a horrendous experience if you've got someone annoying near you.
I've done like every year I go up to the Edinburgh Festival, or usually, and it's you spend a month where you're sort of surrounded by your kind of peers and comedy kind of friends and colleagues, and everywhere you want to go is kind of within walking distance, or like a short bus ride away. And you get to kind of, whether that be a bar or somewhere to eat or a gig or a venue or something you want to attend, it's all kind of close together, and you can just live your life for a month in this one city, and it's lovely. And then you get back in September, and the 5th of September, say you've got a gig in Manchester, so you have to hop on a coach in Cardiff and change at Birmingham and get up to Manchester, and then you finish a gig in Manchester and you've got to wait for the coach again, and it's kind of cold. And you just find yourself going, what am I doing this for? Like, what's the end goal here? Am I just,
it's psychotic. Comedy is psychotic to even try.
Yeah.
It's psychotic behavior objectively.
But just that kind of adjustment of going, oh, I was just in Edinburgh for a month. It was lovely, and then going back to going, oh, I've got to spend 8 hours on a coach to get to a thing to do 20 minutes of comedy.
Yeah.
And then get back again. Like, so that's after a month. So I now haven't been on a coach in over a year, so that's going to be a real fucking, I sort of dread would be the word for that. I'm not looking forward to that.
I think you've got to put on your wish list, unless you're morally opposed to it. Put on your vision board of like sort driving out at some point, even if it takes a long time.
Oh, I'd love to try it. It's just I'm one of those struggling artists. It's just the lessons and the tax and the insurance and the petrol and the car itself.
Yeah, the cost. The cost is a lot, and it's not easy to do. But at some point, I mean, for me as well, because you've always got to make like 2 connections, and this gig's 3 miles that way. Do I get an Uber? Shall I walk for a bit? I think I'm going to have to do it this year. But you've got at some point you'll have some sort of financial windfall, and you'll be very happy. Yeah. You'll get a car.
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it? I mean, the real dream would be like I could get my YouTube off the ground and people connect with that, and you kind of the two things become like symbiotic. Like your YouTube means more people are interested in your live work, and the live work brings people to your YouTube, and it kind of
you sort of get that sort of momentum.
Yeah,
but it's all hard work though, isn't it? It's all you look at some people and they're in this massive house, and it's like, this is my YouTube house, my YouTube page for this. What sort of videos do you make? And it's just bullshit. But they've managed to just get some momentum.
Well, it's I remember seeing an interview with Stuart Lee years and years ago, and he was saying the poet John Hegley had said, like, if you can get 1,000 people to give you £10 a year, that's a living. You can kind of tour around the country and get people to pay £10 for a ticket, 1,000 of them around the country in small art centres, whatever it may be. And that was the kind of the mindset. And I think now it's like, well, if you can get 500 people to give you £2 a month on Patreon, then that's a living. That's it's a shift in the kind of mechanism, kind of rather than buy a ticket for a live thing, why not pay me £2 to support my YouTube channel and get a bit of
And
exclusive
it
content?
is achievable. It is achievable because I want to do more stuff with that in mind as well. It is achievable, but you've got to just go and do something. You've got to have a bit of a plan, and
I
also
think I don't want this to sound arrogant because it's not just me. I think almost anyone creative who's got their own voice, and people are going to connect with what you do. Um, if you're doing something that is true to you and has your personality all over it, then some people are going to connect with it. Some people hate it, but you've just,
yeah. But you're not interested in those people. You don't want to
yeah,
ever try and win someone over.
not
Just do
everyone.
what you do, and if enough people see it, you'll have enough people that like it.
And some people will just naturally, because of who they are and their personality, be it, like a Peter Kay or someone like that, is going to have very broad appeal and connect with a lot of people, and great. And some
Garlic
people,
bread.
yeah, and some people like your Simon Munnerys of this world or whoever are going to have a more kind of cult appeal, but those people who love them are going to love them a lot. And I think that's true of sort of almost anyone who's like creative and putting the work in and producing enough stuff. You can find an audience for what you're doing. It's just finding that audience, connecting with the
It's
people that
just
are going to buy into your stuff that much, that they want to kind of invest
yeah.
in it, that they want to pay for the exclusive content, that they want to support it, and they want to have the name on your credits, you think, whatever it might be. It's just making that connection is like a slow, long, difficult thing, but
Yeah,
it's
it definitely is, but it's
you know,
definitely the right track. You've got to be consistent and then have a batch of good content, I guess, right? Because when people do find one thing, they don't want to click on your stuff and go, oh, that's all they've got. They want to see 20, 30 other things that they can get into, and then
yeah,
they start buying into what you're doing.
that's it. If people see my special on Next Up, maybe they do a Google search or whatever. Maybe they find out I've got a YouTube channel, and then they can look at my kind of best of 2020 playlist rather than going, oh, he hasn't really got anything. Do you know what I mean? There's like that.
Yeah,
that,
can I
that
on
thing.
your special though? Like I said, I watched it. I think it was Friday.
Mm,
I'd had it in mind to watch for a couple of weeks, like I told you before, and I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. But I did. I made myself sit down. I got a couple of beers and a pizza, and I turned the lights off. I made it all, sensual and stuff. Got it on a big screen, and it made me. It's really good. It's
yeah.
better than a lot of stuff that gets pumped onto like
Well,
mainstream streaming services because when you've got 1,000 specials coming out a year, the quality is going to go down, right? But it was really good, and it made me feel because it's quite raw, and that's not like a criticism. It's nice. It's like it made you feel like I was in that room,
mm,
and we just sort of focused on it. I had my beer, and the sound was good, and it looked good, and it did generally make me miss. And I said to you the other day, but I meant it. Like it made me miss being in a little like sweaty room, like listening to a real comic and having
mm.
a nice time, rather than seeing someone's in some almost like faceless theatre and they're
Yeah,
dancing around a little bit. Honestly, it's quite intimate, and I think that's the way that specials should be. I think that a lot of them would be served better if they represented comedy a little bit more, rather than being in a 5,000 seat theatre.
it definitely feels like, um, especially now when you can't go to gigs, it's nice to have had this filmed long enough ago that there wasn't social distancing. There's just people crowded together in a room watching a thing, and
Yeah,
it feels like a nice, and this is I'm not gonna just in terms of. I watched it back, obviously, to kind of put it. I don't want to sound like some sort of arrogant, vain,
go for it.
strange man watching his own stand-up special, but I watched it back to see, and and the guy who filmed and edited it, Ignacio Lopez, again, he did such a good job of kind of, um, yeah, capturing that audience and capturing the atmosphere of it. And at this time when you can't go to live gigs,
Yeah,
it's nice to be able to put something out and go, look, you can watch this, and hey, I think it's a funny show, but also, it does you get kind of what you want out of live comedy, of having that audience there and having that atmosphere and the kind of sense of those things as well.
No, it's perfect. There's a bit like won't spoil it, but there's a bit in there where you drink something, right?
Yeah.
And that was just like it's just the way it's done as well. So which is perfect, and it kind of seems really like natural. Obviously, it's like planned to be there, but it's just like yeah, down and then the audience are loving that you're like drinking something very fast. I'm almost spoiling what it is. He downs a pint. But I actually loved your line. The next line was like, oh, that goes down better than a lot of my material.
Yeah.
The reason I love that is because you're probably right. Because have you ever seen the kind of people that go to comedy clubs on a Friday or Saturday night, like a real comedy club? It's just like they're not even comedy fans. It's either go-karting, a cocktail making session, the strip club, or the comedy club. It's like, what should we do, guys?
Oh yeah. The kind of weekend, the stag do kind of crowds.
Well, I worked behind the bar in Glee. That's years ago.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, many years ago. So I know like everyone there. But sometimes I'd sit at the back, just sort of polishing a glass or something, and then the guy on stage is just dropping. He's saying "fucking" a lot, and then doing like a Welsh accent for a bit, and it's like, and they're loving it. The animals are loving it.
But even in festival, even the festival crowds and everyone, like people just like to see me down in and it's not even the thing is like the drink that I drink in the show. I don't think it's, I don't think it's going to spoil the experience of the show if you're listening to this and thinking of watching it. Like it's sangria, but it's kind of a cheap sangria, so it's sort of red wine and orange juice and lemonade is the common.
Oh, you
so
did have booze. I thought for one thing it's not even maybe he's like put it's a non-alcoholic thing or some Ribena and. At least you got a little bit of cheap wine in there.
It is, yeah, cheap wine's in there. Don't worry about that. But and we had to do a retake. He made me do a retake of that at the end as well. But it's not a difficult drink to down. Do you know what I mean? But people really get behind that bit, and you're okay. Well, I'm glad that's a little. It's nice to have if you're trying to hold someone's attention for an hour. It's nice to have these little bits that kind of break it up a bit and make it.
It's just what I was thinking. Yeah, it is a breakup of it, and it's a bit of like they're there drinking pints. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, he's doing it. What a lad! And it's because your act is quite kind of like you're not a lad. It's also kind of nice just to see you go fuck it. This is going down.
Yeah, but it's just nice how people respond to that, and I think that's always the way though, you kind of could write something really clever and a line you're really happy with, and people go, oh yeah, that's pretty good, and then you do a pratfall and they're falling about and wetting themselves laughing. It's always it's the ad lib or the thing you didn't think very hard about, or the line your mate suggested always goes better than the thing you.
How funny is that when you're sat at home writing something and you think I fucking nailed it, right? And you go out and do a bit and everyone's like, and then you have one thing, that you do not care about, or you've just said in the moment that they laugh a lot at, and it's kind of like, oh, well, I'll take it.
That's why it's been hard this year though, because it's hard to write much new material because you can't go out and test it, and
you can't try out exactly. Like I've got in bursts of writing, but it's all speculative.
And until you test it in front of that live crowd,
it doesn't mean anything.
It's of no real sort of value, It's what's the guy with the cats in a box? What's that? The cats in the box.
You talk about Schrodinger.
Schrodinger, yes.
Okay, right. I thought it was a comedian, some prop comic.
No, no. It's Schrodinger's comedy routines, isn't it? Like you've written them down, but are they comedy routines or are they nothing?
He's dead and alive at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know until you've done it in front of a crowd. So it's hopefully I've got some good material I've written this year, but I've no way of knowing really.
I'm sure. I think when things do come back on, like. Comics are going to be so desperate to get out. People are going to be so desperate. Because even when I noticed the couple of things that in the summer and then early autumn, people were okay to go out. And as long as there were rules, as long as everything was safe, I had my temperature zapped. And one thing I did had little microphone condoms on every comic had their own separate thing. And you just kind of do what you do. But people were super keen and really grateful that they had something to look at that wasn't Netflix or Uber Eats.
Oh, that's it. You hope that but the thing is like when this first started, I think we were all picturing a day. You know, we went into lockdown and everything got shut down, and we all had to go home and stay in our houses. And we were picturing a day where we would be allowed out and we'd all go back, and those first gigs, and everyone would be in a celebratory mood, and everyone would be excited and up for it, and we'd have just a wonderful kind of few weeks or a month of. But obviously the reality is, it's, you know, people have been in and out, it's up and down, people are trickling back. So by the time I actually get to do like a proper live gig in front of an audience, you know, maybe half that audience have been out to things already, and they're kind of getting a bit jaded and cynical and used to the new normal again. You know, it's hard.
I don't know. I think you are being. I think you're worrying a little bit too much. I think they'll be. I think they will generally be unjaded enough for quite a while.
I mean, hopefully, you know, the strength of my comedy will continue through. But
of course it will. Of course it will.
It's just the fact, you know, we're not going to get these kind of wild celebratory scenes of just everyone just excited to be back, because, you know, there's still, even when it has lifted, there's been social distancing rules and there's been restrictions, and you know, the condoms on the microphones or the screens in front of people. Whereas what we want is just this day where you sort of go, right, we went in and we locked down, and now it's over, and we can all go out, and everyone pours out onto the streets, and everything's fine again.
Everyone's hugging and buying each other shots or something.
Yeah,
something normal and grimy.
And it's obviously it's going to be a lot more tentative and a lot more kind of see how we go, and a lot more, you know, things can go up as well as down.
Yeah. But I think I was going to say I'll let you go in a couple of minutes if you want, because it looks like you're going to ready for bed or something anyway.
Does it?
But yeah, no, I think people will be. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be difficult when we sort of go out in dribs and drabs. But I've got a little bit of optimism, but I've saved it right at the back of my brain, and it's just hanging out at the back there. So I'm not really thinking about it. It's sort of and I'm ignoring it and just getting on with days. Every day's like Groundhog Day for me right now. So I just hope there'll be that one day where it's just like the fuck it button gets pushed, and we can actually go, not even going back, like you said, with the screens and sort of whatever, social distancing, but at some point, and it'll probably be next year at this point, like just be in a grimy little bar with some, 4 or 5 comedians that you know, and just be a bit sweaty.
It's just a sorry state of affairs. That's what we're dreaming of, isn't it? Oh, hopefully we're going to be in a grimy bar and we'll be a bit sweaty. That'll be good.
That's probably the best outcome, rather than me trying to run some sort of shit gig somewhere and then the venue owner dies the next day, which actually happened. So I'm not making a joke out of it in case anyone that knows him watching. But yeah, actually I think you probably did one of the gigs that was just a fucking shit show, and then
is that the one? Is that in Cardiff Bay?
Yeah, the
venue owners died
the next day after that gig.
What, after the one that I did?
I think you might have killed him, Christopher.
The guy who was like running that little venue in the Bay there, who ran the whole.
Yeah, I'm not going to say his name, but he's So I that happened. I stayed for drinks after, I think, with Jordan and one other comic that was there for like an hour. We stayed in there having a couple of pints, and I'd fallen out with it. I might have killed him, to be honest, Chris, because he had a go at me earlier in the night, like before it started. He goes, "Well, there aren't any people here," and I was like, "Well, that's also your job." So we had actually fallen out because they had promised they'd market it on this and that, and actually they did nothing. So I was really stressed and annoyed, and so we kind of fell out. But then at the end of the night, we shook hands. I was like, "Right, we'll sort this out soon." Oh, there's a coronavirus thing around. I think people might be being paranoid about that. And he's like, "No, I don't think so." But it was the night before they started making restrictions, or they started suggesting them. That was the night before Boris went, "Try and stay at home from the pub tonight," and everyone went out.
Yeah.
But the next day I started seeing things online, and then I got a message about it a few days later. Like, it died within hours of us leaving that venue, and I still to this day do not know how. I didn't want to ask at the time, and now it seems like too much time has passed.
Sure, fucking hell, though.
So I hope that either, hope it's nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Oh, that's a.
Sorry. So I was supposed to try and lighten it because you were feeling a little bit down. I was like, let's end on a lighter note.
It seemed like a nice guy. It was one of those ones though where you sort of go, he sort of offers you a drink, and you think, oh, am I getting a free drink because I'm an act, and then he gives you the drink, and then tells you, that would be £6. Oh,
Did
okay.
he? Did he really?
Yeah.
Did he really? It was supposed. Well, yeah.
I
That
mean,
was
I
the
don't,
whole. That was the whole thing because we were supposed to have free stuff for the acts, but
right. Well, I wouldn't, I didn't
I
hold it against him. I'd sooner he was still with us.
yeah, no, that would be ideal. But yeah, that happened. So that made the end of it quite weird as well because I think the next week maybe I went to the Hollybush with Rob Grubb. I'm getting confused with my days. Maybe it was a week before the restrictions, but then that was the night. That was literally the last thing that you could do before we all got sent home.
We there's a gig, there's a show on Next Up, Joey Page, and
Okay.
he literally filmed it like it was like the night before lockdown, sort of the announcement going from tomorrow you won't be allowed out, and there were people there, and it was that weird tense atmosphere where people were still sort of going to stuff and not sure if they were supposed to be there or not or whatever, and then the announcement had been made like from tomorrow everything's got to shut lockdown, and he was filming his stand-up special.
Oh wow.
So that it's got a weird atmosphere to it. It's worth a watch. It's interesting. And he's
It's called The Last Night Before Lockdown. I've just brought it
yeah,
up.
yeah. Which and he's a funny guy, so obviously that's worth watching for its own, his value as a comedian. But also it's like a kind of a weird kind of it's strange atmosphere to be kind of filming a comedy special in
Sort of
and going this is my
historical moment because I do remember
Yeah.
there was about a week or two where most people had gone, do you know what, we're just going to shut it down. And when they were first doing that, I was like, come on, we're being a bit ridiculous. But then as it got towards the end of that first week, I shut the mic that I do here as well. I emailed them and said, nah, I'm not going to put it on. And then I think but then the second week, there were still some people going, I'm putting on the gig. And just being more and more stubborn. And then I think
you were just watching stuff in your diary, you had paid gigs in your diary, just watching them kind of evaporate, sort of going, people clinging on, going, is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Just, no, this one's not happening. No, that one's gone. That's gone as well. Just ticking them off,
It was so confusing. And I don't really blame, because some part of me that second week, I was like, just pack it in, come on. But then the other part of me is like, look, everyone's a bit unsure about what's going on, especially if you're like, I don't know, a semi-pro or an early career pro comic, then you might need that to eat until you get your other money sorted out or something.
That's it. Like there's, a lot of people depending on the money from comedy, and they haven't, and especially people who are like full time and freelance and haven't really been supported by the government, in the same way a lot of people have, and don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-lockdown in any way, but you do sometimes just get that thing of like all the fun stuff has been taken away, but we're still expected to do the tedious stuff or the stuff we don't want to do. It's just the nice things, like people have to commute on public transport to go into a city centre to do their sort of retail job or whatever, because whatever shop they're in has been deemed essential, like a key worker to kind of be in Kingdom Sweets selling import sodas, so they have to kind of commute in and go to that job, but they can't visit their family around the corner because that would be too dangerous.
Yeah, that would be mental.
Yeah, you can't go to your local, and I, like I say, I'm all for being strict and whatever, but it's
consistency, right? A little bit of clarity. So I think obviously with Captain Hindsight, should have done it harder, faster, sooner, more strict early on, rather than all this.
Yeah, but then they said, oh, we've learned that we should have gone in faster and sooner and come out later, and then they went for the second lockdown late. And do you know what I mean? Like
everything was late.
No one's learning any lessons, and every time they've announced there's going to be a change in restrictions, they always say, oh, they'll announce it on the Friday, do it on the Monday, and then everyone will go out and have a banging weekend and get drunk and go to the pub and mess about and see each other. And you should just go, right, announce it on the Friday, say it's happening now, you can't go out this weekend. Do you know what I mean? But they almost sort of goading people into going to the pub and having one last crazy weekend, which is not the.
Yeah, and you know enough people are going to go out and do it as well.
Yeah.
So.
And then and then we turn on each other because we go, oh look, it's the idiots doing this, but the government.
That's what I hated. I tried to stay off a lot of the internet because there was a lot of then like COVID startsism, and it was like, well, it's like, well, Yes, but not everyone thinks things through that clearly, and they're kind of half following the rules anyway, or trying to think they're getting out. We can go out, even though we shouldn't.
And it's, there's been muddled messaging and kind of things where it's been misleading, and the government has fucked everything up so royally. It's been horrendous. I think I've felt like I've spent the past year, starring in a sort of sitcom spin-off called Young Meldrew, where I've just been increasingly sort of miserable and grouchy, and except that Victor Meldrew would be annoyed because he held up a dog. He thought he was picking up a phone. It turned out that's not something to be grumpy about. That's adorable, right? But we've got a pandemic. That's reasonable, isn't it? I think it's reasonable. I feel like a grumpy old man who's going to stay off my lawn, except that I'm going, don't give me a deadly disease. That seems more reasonable.
Yeah, it's nuts. I've gone through phases of like not sticking my head in the sand entirely, but just like I'm not switching the news on for a couple of weeks. But then you go on Twitter or something, and it's all there anyway, so you see everything anyway. But it was just like the drama, the fighting, and it's all been a nightmare, the whole thing. And I can't. It's almost been a year as well, and that is mental.
Yeah,
officially.
I hate Twitter. Twitter's
it can go real wrong.
Twitter, you just kind of go on Twitter and go, oh, that's trending. I wonder what that's about, and then you can't find out. All you can find is more tweets with people going, oh, why is this trending? And you can't actually find what the source is, or people are having a slanging match, and you can't trace it back and figure out where it's begun or what's really going on, and just it's a fucking horrible thing.
Well, let's more or less end it there. Then we can end it with Chris going horrible fucking Twitter, and more grimy sweaty nights, please, at some point, please. And by the way, even if the crazy is right and this vaccine does create mind control and they don't need to do that, just I'll have all of the vaccine into my genitalia immediately if it means that we can just go and do something normal. Please. So you've had your first jab, right?
I've had my first jab. I've got my date for my second one, so I'm very lucky again in that regard. I'm not, not complaining. But yeah, so and sooner the better, really. I've got a pregnant wife, as I think I've mentioned. So
yeah,
she's sort of shielding at the minute. So we're kind of just sooner I can be kind of fully protected and things. Although you can still obviously pass it on, and I'm doing all the sensible things like showering and changing when I get in and all that kind of business. But yeah, hopefully it's all heading in the right direction.
Yeah, my parents should be getting theirs in the next fortnight, hopefully, if the plan goes well. So they're older. So yeah, no, that's good. So how far away is your baby?
April now is the due date, early April.
There we go. I've got another friend that's got one due next month. I had another friend that had a baby in December. So they are popping out, and things do seem to be going okay. So yeah, hopefully that'll all go well, and then you'll be Daddy Chris, and your next special will be about cleaning out nappies with her.
Yeah, kids say the most potentially lucrative things.
That'll be perfect. Let's end it there. Chris, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll hopefully not have depressed people too much. Go and watch Chris's special, isn't it? The Lonely Hearts Club.
I'm funny. I worry I've been more intense than funny in this. So watch the special. It's got actual jokes in and things as well. Go and watch that.
He's a funny person. So you've got to go to
nextupcomedy.com, or they've got apps for your phone or your smart TV or your Fire Stick, all those things.
And have you got a link that helps out you?
Yes, but
so I can put that in descriptions. If it's still working, I can put it.
I'll send that to you because it's one of those ones. It's a string of numbers and letters and all that thing. But
but that's fine. But sign up for this thing. You can cancel it after a week and watch it. Of course, you won't because that's their business model. You'll forget and just keep watching all the other comedy that's on there.
Loads of brilliant comedy on there. Also, if you want to check out my YouTube channel, there's a best of 2020 playlist. My channel's just my name, Chris Chopping. And that playlist is probably the best to start to get a sense of the channel and the sort of stuff I'm doing on there, mucking about and things. So
perfect. Right, I'll leave it at that, and you can go and have your steak clit.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Remember. Cheers, Chris.